Hello, 8th graders. Thanks for logging in. And today we're talking about slope formula. We're going to find the rate of change from a table, but we're going to use slope formula. On the website, you will see this exact page of notes. This is the slope formula, where m is equal to my slope, or my rate of change. Remember in the previous lesson I spoke about them being the same. And we're going to use coordinates or order pairs. y2 minus y1 is divided by x2 minus x1. The one thing I want you to remember is your integer rules. Be sure to follow those or your rate of change / slope will be incorrect. Looking at this table here, we're talking about number of balloons to the total cost. But on a table, you want to label it x and y, just like we did on the graph, so that way we can keep our information separate. Total cost is going to be represented by the y-axis, and number of balloons will be represented by the x-axis. The best way to do this is to pick any two sets of order pairs. Personally, as long as there's not negatives, I like to just go with these, the first two. I'm going to write my first set as parentheses 2, 6, and my second set as parentheses 4, 12. Before we can plug it into the formula, we must label the coordinates as first set, x1, y1, and my second set will be represented as x2, y2. That's because our coordinates are represented as x, y. But we have two sets, set 1 and set 2. We want to make sure we separate these sets by labeling them x1, y1, and x2, y2. So I'm going to follow the formula. My y2 is 12. All I'm doing is getting it from the coordinates. There is a subtraction in the formula, so we have to put that first. Then I'm going to do y1, which is 6. In the second set, I'm going to put my division, and I'm just following the formula. x2 is 4 minus x1, which is 2. When I do the subtraction, I'm going to get 12 minus 6, which is 6. 4 minus 2, which is 2. But I'm not done here. This fraction can be reduced. This has a common factor of 2. If I divide by 2 on each one, I will get 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 2 goes into 2 1 time. My rate of change, or slope, which is the same thing, is equal to 3 over 1. This means my cost is equal to 3. So maybe for $3, you're able to get balloons. One balloon is $3. So that's basically it for the slope formula to get the rate of change from a table. Luckily, our rate of change is 6 over 2 when it reduced. It also reduced to unit rate. On the website, you also found the worksheet for classwork and homework. If you were absent, go ahead and follow along for number 1. If you were not absent, go ahead and skip this part and go on to the one homework problem that I'm about to show after this one. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to label 2 points. Number 1 is actually exactly as the one I just showed before. So I'm going to move on to number 3. And we're talking about number of touchdowns to total points scored. First thing I want to do is go ahead and pick 2 order pairs. It doesn't have to be the first one, the first two. It could be any one because they will be the same rate of change as long as they would graph a straight line. So on the side here, I'm going to label my points as 2, 12 and 3, 18. This is x1, y1 because that's my first set. This is x2, y2 because that's my second set. Remember, I'm using the slope formula, which is on the top of the page of the classwork. You can even highlight it so that way it can guide you as you're putting it in. So y2 is my first number I'm going to place, which is 18, minus y1, which is 12. Below, I'm going to do x2, which is 3, minus 2, which is x1. 18 minus 12 will give me positive 6, and 3 minus 2 is 1. My rate of change in this case is 6 over 1. But if we remember, having a 1 at the bottom also indicates unit rate. So in this case, my rate of change in unit rate are the same. All right, next thing I want to cover is the homework. So on the homework, it's asking us the same thing. Also remember to always read the directions. Determine the rate of change from the following table. In this demonstration, I'm going to do the first one. And the only reason I'm doing that one is there are really large numbers. What I will do is I will go ahead. I will pick the first two. And the reason I'm picking that is the first one is 0. So I know as I'm calculating it, it is going to be a lot easier. And just as a quick reminder, we're using the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And the one way to remember this is my y's is my rise, my x is my run. So my rises will be on the top and my run values will be at the bottom. My step one is to go ahead and mark the order pairs I am going to use to calculate. I'm going to use the first one as 0, 120, and the second coordinates or order pair as 12, 216. Remember, the first order pair is my first coordinate, so when I label coordinates as x and y, I'm going to put x1, y1, because that's my first set. My second set is going to be x2, y2. Now the next step is to go ahead. Okay, now that I've labeled my coordinates here, I'm going to go ahead and do the second step, which is to just plug them in. My y2 is 216 minus, I'm just following the formula, y1, which is 120. I'm going to put that over my x2, which is 12, minus my x1, which is 0. If I do the subtraction here, 216 minus 120 is going to give me 96 over 12. Okay? That's my step 2. My step 3 is to determine the rate of change. So I have the rate of change here, but the only thing about this is my rate of change can be reduced. You always want to reduce it if you can have a factor that goes into it. In this case, 12 is a factor of 96. So 12 goes into, because I'm going to divide by 12, 96 8 times, 12 goes in 12 1 time. My rate of change is also represented by my unit rate. So that is the end of rate of change from a table. If you're still struggling, do me a favor and rewind back to the classwork examples and also look at the notes. Okay, thanks for logging in onto the website, and see you guys next class.